All right, I'm joined for today's press review by Alison Sargent. Hello, Alison.
Hey, Will.
Starting with the UK, where Theresa May has offered a set date to step down as a prime minister.
That's right. She hasn't actually set the date yet, but she has said that she will set a date. This is, of course, after UK MPs vote for one last time on her Brexit deal. Now, that is set to take place in early June, hence the Daily Mirror's headline here, May ends in June. The paper says that the prime minister was in tears Thursday as her fellow party members forced her to make this promise that she would quit. They also say that the country was in tears as well, and that's because of the man who is leading the race to replace Theresa May. You see him here and on many of the front pages today. This is, of course, Boris Johnson, the UK's former foreign minister and a very well-known Brexiteer. He confirmed yesterday that he is vying for her job. You can see some of his possible competitors as well on the front page of City AM today. They include the current Foreign Affairs Minister, Jeremy Hunt. Still, Boris is the front runner, and for the Telegraph's Bob Moran, he's sort of looking like the only option. That's what we can see in this cartoon, where Boris Johnson and Theresa May are sort of loitering at the end of what looks like it was a pretty wild party. For the cartoonist, that's how you know when the party's finished, the party in this case being the Conservative Tory party.
And staying with the British press, The Guardian reports on its front page today that Iran has been warning its allies to prepare for a proxy war in Iraq.
That's right. One source told the paper that it wasn't exactly a call to arms from Iran, but that it wasn't far off. This message came from a prominent Iranian military leader and was delivered to Iraqi militias during a meeting that took place about 3 weeks ago. And it's what led to diplomatic moves that we saw this week, like the U.S. evacuating parts of its embassy staff. The Guardian writes that American, British, and Iraqi officials are really worried that Iraq could become an arena for conflict between the U.S. and Iran. Donald Trump has said repeatedly that he doesn't want to see a war with Iran. All fingers have really instead been pointing at his national security advisor, John Bolton, for drumming up this conflict. And you can see him there, or rather his famously large mustache, quite literally beating the war drum in this cartoon by Steve Sack that was reprinted in USA Today.
And we should say Bolton not the only one beating the war drum. The Saudi paper Arab News has been calling for the U.S. to take action against Iran.
That's right. In a front page editorial on Thursday, Saudi paper Arab News was calling for the U.S. to carry out surgical strikes against Iran. This front page made waves in the Middle East. You can see it reprinted here by Lebanese paper L'Orient Le Jour. They point out that Arab News is owned by one of the sons of King Salman, so has an editorial line very much representing the Saudi government. L'Orient Le Jour spoke to one Middle East analyst, though, who says that war would be a very disastrous scenario for both the Gulf states and for Iran. How likely, though, is this war, Will? Well, the New York Times writes that analysts across the Middle East aren't really sure what to think about the rising tension between the U.S. and Iran. Many who spoke to the paper actually joked about it. One said this whole thing is just a circus meant to put pressure on Iran. Still, beneath the jokes and the skepticism, the New York Times writes that there is a festering worry that this will be the moment that the U.S. finally does stumble into an unwanted war.
And moving over to France, where the Cannes Film Festival underway stumbled into an unwanted scandal after a female director was prevented from entering festival grounds.
And that's because she was accompanied by her 4-month-old son. The British director and actress Greta Bellamacina was forced to pay €300 to buy accreditation for him, but then the festival told her that it would take them 48 hours to process that request. The result, she did not end up getting inside the festival, and her story prompted outrage from her and an article in The Guardian. Now, Cannes responded quite quickly and said that it was all a mistake. They actually say that they updated their policies last year to make sure that the festival is more welcoming to mothers. Still, the incident has been a reminder that the festival really does have a long way to go when it comes to reaching gender equality. Of all of the directors awarded at Cannes, a reminder that just about 4% of them have been female directors.
Yeah, and if that policy was only updated last year, it's still a bit late. Meanwhile, papers in South Africa are celebrating a woman for going somewhere you probably wouldn't want to take a baby.
That's right. She climbed Mount Everest, Will, reportedly the first ever African woman to do so, and she carried a South African flag with her the entire way. You see her here. Her name is Saray Kumalo. I hope I'm saying that correctly. She's on the front page of the Sowetan today. The paper writes that she was driven by her passion to promote literacy in disadvantaged communities. Her expedition was actually a fundraiser for an educational initiative. The paper says she also wanted to be an example for women and for Black girls not to give up on their dreams.
And still managed to smile on top of Everest all the while. Finally, Allison, a quick word about Game of Thrones, or some are calling it Game of Groans. Some fans have been so unhappy with this last final season, they're petitioning to have it rewritten.
That's right, and this petition has actually gone viral. It's been signed by hundreds of thousands of people. They have a whole list of complaints, including the character development of Daenerys. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say too much more. But unsurprisingly, there's also been a reaction, a backlash to this backlash. Author Stephen King stepped in to defend the Game of Thrones writers on Twitter. He said he thinks fans are just so attached to the show that they don't want to see any ending at all. But alas, Will, all good things must come to an end.
Including this press review. Thank you very much, Allison Sargent. Well, if you do want to find this press review, you can find it on our website, France 24.